Good morning. It's Sunday, the 24th of February, and the rain has gone after an early morning downpour, and now we've got a lot of sunshine coming through, and it's quite lovely. Nice day ahead. So I hopped up and did a really good early bout of writing. It's funny, I've stopped setting my alarm so early in the morning because I've been feeling a bit tired and wanted to get a bit of catch up. And as a result, I've been waking up earlier than normal because I think my body's preempting a bit of panic in not having an alarm set for the usual time, and so I'm sort of responding to that and thinking, well, don't miss the alarm, so hop up earlier, um, which is nice. So I've been getting up even earlier. I did a really good bout of writing. I got through 4 components this morning, and honestly, if it hadn't reached the time of morning that it did, I think I probably would have just kept on going because I just felt good connections happening between components. I was registering good amounts of prose. I went way over on one component, got to over 1,000 words, but needed it because of the content that it needed to cover. But then I was really astute at keeping a couple of following components to, like one's a 300 word component, 400. So they ended up being really sensibly balanced in that they covered really good content, but in a succinct way that is helping to flow onward. And yeah, it's just feeling really good. I got probably the best connection of the morning was the most subtle, and came right at the end where I'd sort of done some heavy lifting with some pretty big sustained bits of prose that I liked and worked hard on to get right. Um, but then I got into this more sort of gentle section where I was just describing almost like a narrative connection between one point to another, and I realised that I could do something. I could mention a particular idea that would connect the dream from the start of the monologue to why I was walking and traveling in a particular direction that lent it so much more weight and credibility, and is connecting to beach surgery ideas and going forward. And it was just the idea that I was walking down the road and was feeling really warm, like I'm feeling now with the sunshine. And I got to that point where I thought, rather than reject the heat, I'm just going to embrace and actually want more of it, almost like a sauna sensation. Just how can I get even hotter? And that leads to a narrative consequence, but it also ties back to the dream at the start of the book, and it also sets up the travel to the beach in that after he gets very hot, he's going to have a swim in the water. So it's just a lot of good stuff happening, and I was really happy with the colour and content of what I'm writing. It's just really happy. I mean, do I want to be critical of anything or just backslapping happy? I guess the one thing I was thinking last night is I think I was thinking about the role that I could engage and editor in potentially helping me to firm up the manuscript before I send it off anywhere. After I've obviously gone through and done a couple of drafts myself, and I know some people who I could send it to or get a quote on services, but and I started to feel a bit defensive and thinking, yeah, but is this sort of book, what are they going to think of it? Because it's just trying to be its own thing, and it's just, I don't necessarily want someone to say, you should cut 20,000 words because it'll be a lot more palatable for publication with a particular target audience in mind. I don't want to do that at all, but for those purposes. But if someone said you should cut 20,000 words because I can see what you're trying to do in this book and it's going to be all the better for it, then I would, and I guess that's just my immaturity and my lack of having been through the experience that, and certainly the people I've got in mind are very, very wide read readers, and it's not as if I'm creating, something that's outside the realms of writing that there's no context for it. I mean, these are people who, are very probably much sort of broader in some respects than my own tastes. So I guess that's just something to think about is to do what I'm doing, to write the book in exactly the individualistic way that I want it to be, and then to look forward to the idea of sharing it with others who have a particular eye for reading and a particular context of their own for what perhaps the book could be, and to give feedback on that. And if anything, I mean, the thing that does more than all of that is it gives me the motivation to redraft and edit and do 4 solid drafts of line revisions to make sure that structurally it's sitting the way that it should be, but also on a word-to-word level that it's speaking and sounding, which I think is my underlying concern, is that I want it to have a particular tone, a particular sound that is very much its own, but I want it to be understood and read and accessible. So that's the balance that will come about through drafting, and it's good to acknowledge that and and have that be the focus at that point. I don't know if there's anything else I was going to speak to about that. Oh, I was thinking about the structure of the book because I've been thinking about a sequel to the book, and part of me got a bit excited and thought, well, rather than it be a sequel to the book, imagine if it was just part of this book and this book doubled in length and became even bigger beast of a work. And then I thought, sometimes a book needs to be a particular size to be, as much as I've just finished saying, it needs to be accessible and consumable. And I know myself, I've got some very solid books up there that I'm excited about to read, but the size is a bit off-putting, as exciting as it feels like it could be to just have an even more rich and complicated world of story. Particularly, I'm really excited about some of the ideas for what the second book in what I'm doing could be. I think maybe the structural ideas I've got for this book just need to be as they are, and then focus on establishing a whole new structure for this other book, rather than rushing some of the ideas I've got for this second book to try to put them into this first. I just need to enjoy the idea that there's something really wonderful waiting to work on next, and the structure of this book should be enough without thinking that the doors need to be opened and to bring every other book in, because otherwise it will never be finished. I would get to the point where I added the second book and turned a 400-page novel into an 800-page novel, and then think, but what if I added another layer onto this as well? And as much as a 1-volume edition of In Search of Lost Time by Proust would be something interesting to think about, it's hard enough to approach it knowing its size, and I'm not going for length. I am going for richness and complexity and the enjoyment of that, but I'm not going for length. So if anything, I'm trying to tone it down the entire time. I'm thinking 1,000 words is too much. That should have been 500. So yeah, that's something it's something I've been thinking about, but that's the resolution I'm at. Enjoy the second novel when it comes. Don't try and bolt it onto this one. I think that's about it. I've got a bit of travel for the next 2 days, um, and I won't be taking the train. I'll be driving, so I won't have those hours on the train to write like I sometimes do. I'm going to have to try and maximise the hotel room time. So when you see me next, I will be in a hotel room at the end of a very big day and before another very big day, of which sleep is going to be of a premium. Um, so, you know, I've got to try and do what I can with the time that I've got. But I would like to try to finish another component tomorrow at the very least. If I could finish one component tomorrow, one component the next day in the morning, I guess before driving home, before that day and then driving home, that's probably as much as I can hope to do at this stage. So let's do that. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you somewhere, sometime tomorrow.